makes most women start a business? Is it passion, money, or freedom? Welcome to Female Founders, the podcast that takes you behind the scene with women who are founders and CEOs to help you start and scale a successful business of your own. I am your host, Nagelia de Ravin. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Female Founders. In today's episode, I will be having a conversation with Paula Wright. Paula is the creator behind the Live Free process. She is dedicated to helping individuals unlock their true potential and live the life of their dreams with freedom, wellness, purpose, and abundance. She is an award-winning author, speaker, wellness, and spiritual teacher and entrepreneur. Good morning, Paula. Thank you for taking the time to have this conversation with me. So in 2020, you left your high-pay executive job to pursue your dream calling. So now, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to make that decision?
Yes. And first of all, thank you so much for having me on. It's such a pleasure and privilege to be with you today. So most of my background was in the nonprofit sector. I worked in government for many years as well. And I served in a number of different leadership positions and different populations. I worked in the child welfare field. I worked in the mental health profession. And then for many years, I worked with the aging population and those issues. And my parents got sick. First of all, I'm an only child. And right around 2019, my parents got sick. So I was working my, high level position and, dealing with quite a bit of stress on my job. And my father was diagnosed with vascular dementia. And my mother began to suffer a lot of health issues as well, primarily due to the stress of caregiving for my father. And we lived about 2 hours away. And so I kind of say I was thrown into caregiving because I couldn't have seen this coming in a million years. But so I had to step in that role of caregiving for both of my parents while I was, continued to work my high stress position. And it was during that time that it really became clear to me that first of all, I didn't want to live my life like that anymore. I dealt with enough stress for one lifetime. I was a single parent and, job stress and just trying to balance it all and then caregiving. And it became clear that I didn't want to live my life like that. I wanted much more freedom in my life and I wanted to live my passions. I really just wanted to be free. And it also became clear that I was actually being called out of the corporate world during that time. And so I just, some people aren't familiar with that term, being called. And it's just this strong inner drive to leave and to do something else. And so I made a decision that I was going to quit my corporate job and, continue to caregive for my parents, but I also to move to my soul place, which is Seattle, Washington. So, so I moved from Phoenix to Seattle and began living here part-time. And then I'd go back to Arizona and care for my parents. And that's when things just really began to unfold for me in creating this Live Free process. My life just changed so dramatically for the better. And I just never could have imagined what was, waiting in store for me, all the wonderful things.
The things that sometimes too, we're scared of making a change. And because we always think that, well, my job, yes, a lot of stress, but it pays me well. The bills are getting paid, things like that. Not until we actually really get a wake-up call, like, hey, you can do this on your own without the stress, without burn out, without not even have time for your family because you're too busy in and out of taking care of somebody else's stuff. So I think for you, that was kind of like the wake-up call is your parents. They needed you at the moment.
Yes, absolutely.
So now you create the Live Free process. What is that exactly? What is it about?
Yes, so the Live Free process is a process that I created after doing a lot of inner work and then experiencing these profound changes in my life, in my outer world, and very quickly, very rapidly. And I thought, this is the key to success. This is the key. So many people have been taught, like myself, is that the key to success is that you work, and you got to sacrifice your health, you sacrifice your time with your family, like you said, and then when you get to a certain age, then you can really enjoy your life and live your life. And what I discovered is a way to do that now and to really attract all the things that you desire in your life, and I mean your heart's desires, in a much more natural, authentic way. And it really is. It's just so profound. It's the inner work that brings the outer changes in our life, and it can happen very quickly when people are willing to do that inner work.
So now you created that pretty much from your own experience.
Yes, exactly. And what I discovered is that I had, I felt like I was doing everything right. I raised my son. I gave everything to my family. I was giving everything to my employer. Yet I didn't feel like I was getting back
anything,
the equivalent of what I was putting out. I was just giving. And so I realized, there's something in me that has to be blocking, the manifestations of what I'm believing for, because I'm depleted. I'm so stressed out. I can't give to anyone else. And so I went to therapy and discovered that I had a lot of limiting beliefs. And mind you, I've been committed to self-growth for personal growth for a long, long time, and always trying to improve myself. But what I discovered is that I still had some limiting beliefs. And the big thing that I discovered was the connection to those beliefs and our energy and how big energy is, and how those play into our energy. It plays into our, it's attracting things and into our lives and blocking things. So that was a huge eye opener for me. And so so I did a lot of work to release those limiting beliefs, and specifically the therapeutic measures that I use are found that just to be so effective is something called the emotion code body code, which was developed by a psychologist. And it's like when you release these things, you're releasing the trapped energy in your body as well, and you're releasing for ancestors, which is powerful. It's just powerful stuff. It's sacred work. And then when I began to do that work, everything began to change. All these wonderful doors of opportunity just began to naturally open. And I feel like, I'm happier than I've ever been. I have no stress in my life.
So now when we talk about energy, so the leaf we process, is that around it, your energy itself?
Say that again. I didn't.
So the leaf we process you created, is energy a part of a component of it?
Yeah, it is a component. So it's a 5-step process, and the first step is actually being purpose-driven. It's very important to be purpose-driven. And, we were all created for a specific purpose, to do something so unique on this earth, and using all the talents and gifts that, each of us have been given. And what I tell people is that if you don't know your purpose, follow your passions. Because your purpose is connected to your passions. That's the first step. And so when I decided to leave my corporate job, I really spent some time reflecting upon, okay, what is it that I really feel passionate about? And, for me, it was living in Seattle. It was the Pacific Northwest. It was wellness practices. It was practicing yoga and music and travel and dancing and all of those things that I'm living now. I have all of those things in my life, And so that's the first step, is to follow your passions, because it leads to your purpose. The second step is to do the work to release limiting beliefs. And the limiting beliefs are beliefs that hold us back. And sometimes we're conscious of them. For example, someone may feel like, well, I'm too old to do this, or I'm too young to do it, or I don't have enough time to follow my passions. Or they may be beliefs that people are unconscious of. And I think in most cases, people are unconscious of limiting beliefs. And an example of that may be, someone who was taught to believe that money is the root of all evil. And they've been struggling with money, with their finances their whole life. They don't have enough money coming in. Well, that's a limiting belief that they've got to let go of in order to attract the abundance in their life. Okay. And then the third step is to heal your energy. And as I said, that's huge. And it has to do with our thinking and our emotions and our actions and being in alignment with those things. The law of attraction basically says that, everything in this natural world is energy in its most basic state, from humans to animals to plants to structures. And we're either in a state of growing or dying. And yeah, and that, everything vibrates at a certain frequency. And so we're attracting things in our life, wanted and unwanted, based on what we're putting out there. And that frequency is determined by our thoughts and our emotions. And, oftentimes they're trapped emotions and our actions. And so the energy part, healing our energy is huge. That's a huge part of it. And then the fourth step is growing spiritually. It's very important to focus on our spiritual growth. And I am very excited about the times that we're living in. These are very challenging times, no doubt, very challenging times. But it's causing people to become more spiritual and to get in touch with their true nature, and to live more authentically. And I'm very, very excited about that. And so it's very important to do that in order to really live free. And to live free is to live your most authentic life, your most purposeful and joyful life. That's what that is about. And then the last step is just don't give up. Because, keep going.
Keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward. Because, it's just life that we run into obstacles. And as we, do this work, we get setbacks. It may be, fear or doubt or, situations, problem people, problem situations. But if you keep going, you're going to get there. And so it's really important just to believe, keep the faith, and don't give up.
Don't give up. So also at the beginning, you mentioned that you are living your dream because you are living in Seattle and you are surrounded by all the things that you love. Yeah. But I never thought that Seattle was a wellness place.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So Seattle is such a unique place. So I grew up in Arizona most of my life. And so I grew up in the desert, and I visited Seattle for the first time probably about 10 years ago, and completely fell in love with everything about it. The nature here is absolutely incredible. The energy, the vibe. Seattle is a very laid back place. So the people are pretty laid back here. We love dogs. There's dogs all over the place. Music, food. There's a lot of tech companies in Seattle. There's also a lot of creatives here, a lot of creative entrepreneurs in every field that you can imagine. And it's just a wonderful place to be. And I've never felt freer, in my life. I'm so happy.
It's finding that place where you can find balance in life.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And because I live in the city, but I'm also, I'm surrounded by all this nature. I can walk to the forest or near to the ocean or all these parks. And so I feel like I have the best of all worlds.
So now you have mentioned that you overcome chronic stress and anxiety, depression, and feeling of being stuck. So what practices or strategies did you find most helpful and achieving this transformation? And how do you incorporate them into the live free process?
Yes, that's a really great question. So yes, I lived with, as I mentioned, chronic stress for a long time and anxiety. And I think it probably started, even when I was younger, because I was a very sensitive child, an empathic child. And at that time, I didn't even know what the word empath was, or or what that what that was. But I remember my mom telling me sometimes, you're so sensitive, you're so sensitive. And so, I was sensitive to my environments, and I was sensitive to everyone that I was around. And, I didn't have the awareness or the knowledge to understand, what I was feeling, or to be able to discern, okay, these are my emotions, or are these somebody else's emotions? And so, just living like that is, that creates anxiety. So I began, it's been about 15 years ago, I began practicing yoga. And I actually began going to a Christ-centered yoga studio in Phoenix. And I tell you, that was really the beginning of my passion for wellness practices. And yoga just helped me so tremendously in terms of reducing stress and becoming more mindful, becoming more just aware of me and in tune with my true nature. And I ended up becoming a yoga instructor. And I'm actually going to I'll have my own YouTube channel, Yoga with Paula, which will start in July. But I would say that yoga was really the beginning for me, even learning about, self-care and wellness practices. And then moving to Seattle after experiencing all the stress of caregiving and my father's death and, the pandemic and everything else that everyone was going through.
Yes.
In this type of environment, it really allowed me to really immerse myself in living, even more wellness practices, such as getting out and walking in nature every day. That, is something that I did when I first moved here. And it's just been such a tremendous part of my healing practice. And I can't live without it now. My day is not the same without walking in nature. But I was guided to, just wonderful naturopath doctors here, and learned about different, remedies to lower my stress level and hormone levels and just, all kinds of self-care practices, dancing and my diet and eating whole foods. And so, living free and living your abundant life is about being well as well, and wellness is about being well in our mind, body, and spirit. And so I do incorporate that as well. And I'll be talking a lot about that on my yoga channel.
I look forward to watching your yoga channels in July, but also that when you talk about nature, and I completely agree with you on that, because when you get out of the house, you just take a walk in nature. If you just listen around you can learn so much. You don't even realize it at all.
Yes. And notice the sounds of birds and water. And it's just absolutely incredible and really, helps to broaden our awareness about the abundance that really is surrounding us. And not to mention, what it does for our mental and emotional health. Sure. And like you said, just, taking a break and just getting out and go for a short walk outside.
Yeah, get connected with nature.
Yes, absolutely.
So now your book, How to Live Free, provides readers with an entry point to your belief system and skill set. Can you tell us more about the key principles that underpin your approach to living free and how your readers can apply them in their own lives?
Yeah, so my My success strategy, what I really believe is the key to success, is that we have to do the inner work in order to bring the outer changes in our life, in order to live our most authentic, joyful, and purpose life, and really to live free. And I believe that we live in an abundant universe, and that abundance is just waiting for us. It's just waiting for us to tap it, to support us when we do the work that I described earlier. It's just waiting for us, and the doors just of opportunity just begin to open just so naturally for us. So the Live Free process will actually be my book will be released this summer. I also one of the exciting results that happened of as me doing this work as well is I had the opportunity to co-author a book with Jack Canfield, who is I don't know, do you recognize
which
that
is
name?
The book name Keys to Authenticity with Jack?
Yes. So, and Jack Canfield is the international best-selling author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Yes. So we have a book being released this summer as well, and that's it's another just wonderful outcome of the work that I've done and attracting those amazing things into our lives. And then I just got news. Oh my gosh, I have to share this. And then I'm being featured in your magazine. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I attracted that. And then I just received word that I'm going to be featured in the Wall Street Journal as well. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it's, just do the inner work and just allow allow the wonderful manifestations to happen.
But what was it like to work with him, and what did you learn from that experience?
Oh my gosh, what an amazing experience. I mean, I just never dreamed that I would even, have the opportunity to meet him, not in a million years, or that I would be selected, to co-author this book. And it's me, along with about 20 other leading entrepreneurs throughout the world that were selected to do this. And so just an incredible opportunity that I'm just so grateful for. And in the book, I actually share a lot of the principles that you and I have discussed in my book, How to Live Free. So very, very excited about it.
So now you have been recognized for your powerful empathic and how do I say that, in a way that you see gifts. So now, Can you explain what those gifts entail, and how do you use them in your coaching practice?
Yes, so that's such a great question. So as I mentioned earlier, I was, when I was younger, I had a lot of sensitivities, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know what the word empath meant, and I didn't even know what empathy was at that point. It just is who I was. And so as I, began to do a lot of my own personal growth work, I realized that this is who I am. I'm an empath, and I have these spiritual gifts that are just natural for me. And for listeners who, aren't familiar with empaths are people who are born highly sensitive. And some people describe them as psychic. Some of them describe them as seers. Where they're different. We all have different gifts, and we have different sources as well. And my source is the Holy Spirit. That's my only guide. And, for some people like me, we're much more in tune to things. We have a knowingness. We know things just because we know things. There's no logical reason for knowing it. We just know it. Other people are what's described as they have a gift of being clairaudient. And so that means that they actually audibly hear. They might hear a message. They might hear a message from, the Holy Spirit or whatever. And other people have the gift of seeing. They have visions that they may dream. They may have prophetic dreams or see into the spirit realm. And for some people, one of those gifts may be more pronounced than the other one. And so we're also known as people with a prophetic gift. Some people may be familiar with that term as well. And so the way that I live is I try to just allow the Spirit to move in me. If there's just, if there's something that I feel led to say to someone, to encourage them, I just do it. It's not coming from in me, it's coming from the Spirit, and Spirit wants them to know that. And so, yes. And it's my gift allowed me to, it allows me to see what's happening in the world right now from a spiritual perspective. It allowed me to see that, that things were about to get very dark on the earth, right, in 2020. I actually, as I was leaving my corporate job, I shared this with my colleagues that, that it's about to get very darker than, we've ever seen in our lifetime. So it allows me to see the world from a very unique perspective. And also, although these are very, very, they're dark and they're challenging times that we're living in, they're leading to the greatest times on this earth. The best is yet to come for people who are willing to do the work that I describe in my book. The best is yet to come.
We have a long way to go.
Yes, we do.
But earlier you also mentioned that you teach yoga and also you hold women wellness retreats. So how do these practices complement the live-free process, and what benefits do they offer to your clients?
Yeah. So as I said, part of living free is being well in our mind, in our body, in our spirit. And yoga is a tremendous way to reduce stress and to become more mindful and to just becoming more in tune with who you really are and your true nature. And so I have a business partnership with two other women. We will begin hosting wellness retreats actually on a ranch in Texas with horses. So we're really excited about, providing an opportunity for women just to come and just to reset and restore and to receive from others, to be taken care of. And that's very, very important.
So how long is your retreat when you do them?
The retreat it's a 4-day retreat, and I will be promoting that through my website and on my email list as well. But it's a 4-day retreat. Yeah, really excited.
Is that going to be in Seattle?
No, that'll be in Texas. It'll be in Gainesville, Texas, on a ranch. Yes, with horses, and we have we're still in the planning stages, but we've got some wonderful just wonderful things planned, from workshops to time with the horses, time out in nature, great food, music, time to connect with one another and to build new friendships. So we're very excited.
Well, Texas sound like it.
Yeah.
So now you also offer 2 days breakthrough workshops. So can you tell us more about that?
Yes. So part of the Live Free process is understanding the principles and the manifestation techniques related to the law of attraction, which is one of 12 universal spiritual laws. And so I am offering 2-day breakthrough workshops here in Seattle on doing just that, on mastering the law of attraction. And so very, very excited. They're very, very powerful workshops. And really designed to help people get in tune with their soul's purpose, to release those limiting beliefs that I described earlier. They're designed to help people shift their energy, vibration. We do a lot of meditation and it's very interactive, a lot of exercises to help people do that. And to really gain some very powerful manifestation tools. And these are practical tools that people can use on a daily basis to help manifest the desires of their heart. And I say that, the desires of their heart, that's very key, because it's not about manifesting, just, oh, you saw a dress, or you want a new car, or whatever. But the deepest desires of our heart are there because they're meant to be. And it's about bringing those things into our physical reality. So very powerful workshop.
I wish I could be in one of them.
Oh, I do too. I do too. I hope you'll plan to attend. And so, it doesn't matter what area that you're, believing for. For some people, they may be, focused on things related to their career, or it could be health, or it could be wanting to manifest, love and or a soulmate relationship, and to have better connections with people, or just anything, more money. I
Yes.
believe that it's God's will for us to live in abundance. And so, yeah, no matter what it is, these are very powerful tools to help manifest your desires.
So now that also brought me to another question. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges that people face in trying to manifest their heart desires?
Oh, that's such a great question.
And
That's
how
such
does
a great
it?
question.
So now, I guess the biggest part of it, how does the live-free process help them overcome these challenges?
Yes, so those are some of that's just such an excellent question, because the challenges, first of all, some of the common challenges are limiting beliefs. Those limiting beliefs, I described a few of them earlier. Negative thinking is a huge one. And some people, might even be aware that their brain is just more inclined to think negatively about things as opposed to positively. The two big ones are our emotional health, being emotionally unhealthy, and and limiting beliefs. So those are huge. And I think that what we've seen during the past several years is a lot of trauma that people have experienced coming to the surface, and it's coming to the surface for a reason, because we've got to do the work to heal whatever it is that's happened in our lives, and everyone has had trauma, but so not doing the work to heal our emotions and being unhealthy emotionally, limiting beliefs, having a scarcity mindset. And a
Yes.
scarcity mindset is a belief that there's not enough to go around, not enough money or not enough resources. And so it really leads to this this belief that you've got to compete with everybody, and to get what you need. And the truth is that we live in an abundant universe. And so having an abundance mindset helps to manifest those things. Gosh, there's so many. In fact, I just wrote an ebook on the 10 blocks to manifestation and how to
Sure.
fix them. Yes. And so that'll be a free resource on my website, but I do discuss a lot of those things in my breakthrough workshops as well.
So, what advice would you offer to someone who is feeling stuck or unfulfilled in their life and is looking to make a positive change?
The advice that I would give is to really take some time to reflect upon how you want to live your life. Reflect upon your values, reflect upon the things that really bring you joy and your passion, reflect upon who you're with when you feel your best. What type of people are you around and that make you feel good when you're around them? And then spend some time really thinking about the beliefs that you have about the life that you want to live. Do you really believe that it's not attainable? Do you believe that you're not good enough, or there's something that's holding you back? And because the first step is, letting go of these limiting beliefs is becoming aware of them. It's awareness. Really reflect upon those things and then begin to do the work to release them. And, therapy, I highly encourage therapy. Therapy could really, I think benefit most people. But the first thing I would really encourage people to do is just reflect on how you really want to live your life, and what's really going to make you happy and what's holding you back from that.
Thank you so much, Paula, for the great advice. And I love the fact that you are able to find yourself and also be where you want it to be in life. And I think that's what makes you able to support others to find their own purpose of life, also, and where they want to be in their own life.
Yes.
And I think the great thing about what you do is the fact that you didn't just find it and then you kept it to yourself, but you also pass it on. And I think a lot of people, they don't do that. They find a solution, they keep it to themselves, and they die with it. But at the end of the day, I don't think that's the reason why we were born. I think we were born to learn, and each one of us are learning different things, and we have a different ways of looking at things. And we're supposed to put them all together and create a better world. And I do hope that we get there a lot faster by doing it. And I think we can if we actually take the time to invest in ourselves instead of just investing on things that I'm not saying they are not matter, because we need them to survive, but they are not the key to lead us to where we need to be. So I thank you for giving me the chance to even talk to you, to understand why you are doing what you are doing. And also I know it's late to say that I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm grateful that you didn't let that stop you from continue to live the life you want to live.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I so appreciate that, and just so appreciate the opportunity to do this podcast with you as well, and to be featured in your magazine, which is like such a huge blessing. And yes, thank you. And you're so right. We're given these gifts because we're meant to share them with the world, to make the world a better place, not to hold them to ourselves. And so you're right on point.
Thank you for listening to Female Founders Podcast. That's it for this week's episode. Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app or connect with us on womel.com so that you don't miss our next episode. See you next time. Bye for now.